Well, I don't know if you can relate to this, or maybe you know someone in a similar situation, but here it is. I was out showing a family, and they've been looking to move to their next place for a couple of years. And they got a little sidetracked and kind of sat on the sidelines, especially when the interest rates started to increase, the prices of the homes increased. It was really hard for them to wrap their minds around this change. But we started looking, and well, things kind of took off fairly quickly. We actually found a great place for them because what they were looking for is somewhere to downsize and to be kind of their forever place. So we found them somewhere on acreage because they really wanted land and space, elbow room, and they also wanted this nice workshop. So we're talking acreage. We have a workshop with electricity, with water, with overhead doors for all of their hobbies. Oh, and did I mention a nice swimming pool? So we found it all. Things started to pick up. Things started to move really fast. So now we were faced with the decision of what's next. They had an option of doing the traditional route, like most people think, you want to sell your home, pull that equity from your home, from the sale, from the proceeds, and then apply that to your next place, whether it's going to be cash or with a huge down payment. So we were thinking about what is the best way for them to move to the next place. And to be honest, they've been in this home for quite some time. And that means they had quite a lot of, collectibles around. And we're not talking hoarding. It wasn't that bad, but there are a lot of things. Boxed up, stacked up all over the place because they've lived in this home, 15, 20 years. And what we realize is that, some things need to be done, basic things like, fresh paint throughout. Well, they can't paint throughout because they couldn't even get to some of the walls. Or some of the things were a little outdated by today's standard because, whenever you think about moving, you want to make sure it's up to date and with all the trends. But we realized that we're going to need to really address some areas that contractors can't even get to. And do you really want to live with contractors coming in and out and disrupting your life? So after we got into this conversation, they realized that maybe the best route for them is to buy now and sell later. Well, in this video, we're going to cover all of the things that you will need to know if you are considering making a move, but you're also in a quandary. You don't think you can quite get your house ready for full market value. You don't want to discount it to an iBuyer or an investor, but you may need to buy now and sell later. So we're going to go over that. I have a couple of lenders I want to share with you, and they have some ideas that you may not have even considered as options for buying now and selling later. And then we're going to go over some practical ways to maintain your sanity during the transition. Are you ready? Well, before we go into the rest of this video, let's take a pause for our station identification. Hi, I'm Tracy Sorrell with the DFW Life, and I help people sell and buy homes in and around our Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And I know that the idea of moving to your next place, that's pretty exciting, but there are a lot more things that go on that are less exciting. Hey, do me a favor. If this is your first time to this channel, subscribe below, press the bell, and you'll be notified anytime anything goes down around town, around our Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Now, back to the video. Well, the family that I was working with, they had an option, right, to buy first or sell first. And really, for all practical purposes, we really wanted to look at numbers and what worked best for them. Because just like you have an option to sell your home, what we describe as retail. That's full market value, or wholesale. And that's the investor route. Sometimes, and you've probably gotten several postcards you've seen on the television, you heard on the radio, where people will come in and save the day by offering you a cash deal to buy your home, and you can use that cash to purchase your next home. Well, there are some caveats to that, some costly ones. Once you get into that and read the fine print, you'll notice that they have a quite substantial service fee. We're talking 13, 15, some even higher percentage for that convenience. So that may not be the best route for you to acquire as much as you can for the sale, because think about it. You've made a wise decision when you bought your home so many years ago, and your home has appreciated year after year after year. And during that appreciation, you've acquired quite a bit of equity. And remember, the equity is what you can walk away from. That's what you owe on the house, the gains on the house. And when it's all said and done, the equity is that big pot of gold that you can use. So let's talk about how much equity most Americans have. When you take a look at this chart, when you think about it, nearly 70% of the people have paid off their mortgages, or they have at least 50% of equity. So that's a lot of cash you have to apply to your next place. Whether you're going to pay for the home with all cash or a substantial down payment from the equity you've acquired over the years. So when you have a situation similar to this family where they just have so much going on, I mean, they've got a lot of boxes, a lot of books, a lot of everything. I mean, you go into the kitchen, you think you're at some type of house and garden trade show or something. It's just so much, there's way too much. And when people are not able to, paint the inside of their home, I mean, it was almost like, here's some options for you. You can either get several storage units to just put a lot of your things in there to try to clear it out so the contractors can come in. Or you can get a trash dumpster out front and just start indiscriminately throwing things in the dumpster, because that's really hard for homeowners, because everything in that home is important to them. To everyone else, it's junk. Well, So there are things that we could do to prepare for the home, but the question is, do you really want to do that while you're still living there and having so many people come and go? Because chances are you need your overhead lighting updated. Probably the bathroom needs an overhaul. There are some things that need to be done if you've been living in your home for the past 20 plus years because you've just been living there and enjoying it. But there are things that we want to do to make sure you get the most for your money versus an investor. Now, the investor could be the best thing for you. If you feel as though, I'll just leave the thousands upon thousands of dollars on the table because it's just not worth the stress for me. I just don't want to do that, then totally you can do that. Please comment below and let me know if that's one of the options for you, because I would love to connect you with some reputable investors who can help you out. But let's say that you're decided that, I made a wise decision buying this home. I'm going to finish this all the way to the end and get as much money as I can. This is where I want to discuss with your options of how you can buy now and sell later. I'm going to share with you two of my lenders who are going to discuss some things that if you've lived in a home for a while and haven't purchased, you may be unaware that these options exist. Now, many people are familiar with the Heloc and they're familiar with the bridge loans, but there are some more things that you may not be aware of. So these two lenders are going to hit upon these really quickly. And do me a favor, if you're familiar with some of the programs that they're discussing, comment below. I want to know what experience you've had, whether it's a Heloc, a bridge loan, or one of these other ones that are fairly new product for lenders to offer. I'm pretty excited about sharing them with you. Well, let's take a look and listen to our first lender, Troy Turner, who is going to share a little bit about the advantages and surprisingly the disadvantages of the Heloc.
The equity laws in Texas will only allow you to take out 80% of the value of your home minus what you owe. You then get the difference of that money to use to put down on a new home. It's a HELOC or home equity line of credit, which is what most people do whenever they're trying to take money out before selling the other one. It is a line of credit on the equity that you can take out and pay back as you wish. That's a really good option to take that money out and use it to put down on the new home. Then when this one sells, you're paying off both loans. Is you can take out 80% of the value. So let's just use an easy number at 500,000, okay? So if your value of your home is at 500,000, you can take out $400,000 in a home equity line of credit. Now, out of that 400,000, they have to subtract out any mortgages that you already owe on the home. So let's just say you owe 200. That means you could get a line of credit for $200,000 to use to put down on the new home. There's no limitations on what you can do with that money. That money is your money. If you want to spend $100,000 to remodel the home you're selling to get it in better shape, and then spend $100,000 to buy the new one, absolutely you can do that. Most HELOCs are tied to prime. So however the prime rate is, it's usually prime plus 1, depending on what lender that you go with. So if the current rate is, let's just say it's 8.5 prime rate, I believe it is today, then your current rate on your HELOC would be 9.5%. The other downside to a HELOC is that it is tied to prime, which is an adjustable rate. So as prime goes up and down, so does the interest rate on your HELOC. If you're selling to buy, then they have to pay off that HELOC when they sell, because it is tied to the house itself, right? It's a mortgage, okay? But you can pay that HELOC in any time you want. Now, there's going to be minimum payments, just like any loan on your HELOC, that you have to make. But let's just say you pay the thing all the way down and you don't close it. That line of credit is open to you to use again and again and again. But let's talk about timing as well, right? So that's important, because a HELOC, depending on the lender that you go with, is going to take anywhere from 2.5 to 4 weeks to close that HELOC, to get your money. Now, the great thing is you can do it simultaneously while getting the loan for your new home as well. We just have to make sure that, obviously, as a lender, we get the terms of that HELOC, and that HELOC obviously will have to close before ours so that we could actually have the money to buy it.
Pretty interesting, huh? Don't forget to comment and let me know if you've had any experiences with a HELOC loan. Now I'm going to introduce you to my next lender that I think she's got some pretty interesting options for you to consider. Because remember, you may not have purchased a home in a while, so there are some things out there, some products out there that you could ask your mortgage broker or your lender if they even offer some of these things. Because if they don't, I certainly know that she does. And many lenders now are trying to address the demand of being creative with how they lend to the consumer. You. Now let's take a listen at what Dianna Morgan has to say about some of her products that she can offer.
So we have Cash Plus, which is an in-house program that we have that allows them to give a cash offer on the property that they're buying that is non-contingent upon their house selling. There are some caveats to that program, but that is one of the programs. Another program is another in-house program that we have that allows them, if they have 20% equity and they have 12 to 24 months reserves, depending on the marketability of their current home. Both of these programs are for conventional buyers. So government doesn't have any way of being able to exclude that departing residence. This is only strictly for conventional products only. The Cash Plus details, basically it's a cash up backup offer, and they put their own financing up first. Cross Country puts the cash offer as a backup. Then if their house doesn't sell or they can't close by the time that the contract is due to expire, then Cross Country comes in, makes that cash purchase, and the buyer will then purchase it from Cross Country after there's sales. They purchase it from us at the original sales price.
Okay, so this particular person who's using the Cash Plus, they've already been pre-approved. Whatever their financing is, they already have that in place. This prevents them from if for whatever reason their home does not close, then your company steps in and purchase it using cash. And
Correct.
This keeps them from going contingent?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And so there's no financing contingencies, no appraisal contingency. Minimum FICO scores is 700, 80% max loan to value once they purchase from Cross Country if they need to. So they have to be putting a minimum of 20% down. It is only for single family residents. So let's say, for instance, they're going to eventually finance with 20% down. Their 10% is required upfront and earnest money. Then if Cross Country ends up coming in and purchases it, then they have to put another 10% down.
Okay, so that's your total of 20%.
Total of 20%, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, a lot of people should have 20% equity. Fortunately, with our appreciation.
Yes, so most people have that 20% equity. So they have to have 20% equity there. They only have to qualify for financing on the new property. We can exclude that. And the way that we exclude that is we do a drive-by appraisal on the departing residence. And as long as they have 20% equity in that property, and depending on, so they have marketability inside the appraisal. and it will say typical sales for this neighborhood or for this property would be 3 to 6 months, or typical sales for this property are staying on the market 6 to 9 months. So that depends on the amount of reserves that you have to have for that property based on that appraisal, is how quickly that neighborhood would be moving. So if you're 0 to 6 months on movability, then it's 12 months reserves. And then if it's more than 6 months, you do have to have 24 months reserves.
Well, this sounds really technical for me. So what I'll do, if someone comments and asks for more detail about this particular program, I'll be sure to just kind of introduce you to them and let you handle that.
Absolutely. And, we've got some really creative financing too. If they put at least 15% down, we can waive PMI. There's all kinds of cool things to help that payment structure as well. I do have one other thing. A lot of people are saying that they think bridge loans are dead. They are not. I do have a bank that does bridge loans, and it allows you to qualify for both properties. It's a really cool, unique. Now you do have 2 closings, but the bank that I work with on those bridge loans, they'll actually do like a 45, 60-day close. They get pre-approved for the bridge loan. If their house sells in time and we don't have to touch it, they understand, and we just move that bridge loan aside. But it's nice to have that in your pocket as well. So bridge loans are still a thing.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate these options to share with people, because I am finding more people in a situation while they want to buy first and sell later. Of course, they may have, some projects to get done, and that may be the reason, but they're very motivated to just move on with their lives, and I'm more than happy to help.
And both Troy and Deanna have products similar to one another, but it's really great for you to speak to a lender and see what that particular lender has to offer, because there could be some differences between the two. But my hope for you is that you feel so armed with some information that you would consider whether or not, buying first before you sell your primary home is even an option, because sometimes it never even crosses our minds that we can do some of these things. Now let's talk about some practical ways. If you've decided you're going to buy first, some practical ways to get you the most money from the current home. But before we talk about some little key points of how to stage and get really ready, I just want to let you know and encourage you to remember what kind of opportunity we have out there. I have not seen so many incentives from both pre-owned homes and builder new construction homes that I've seen in like 20 years. The builders are offering so much value to buy their homes. I mean, they're talking about fixed interest rates. They're 2% below prime. They're offering a lot of incentives toward your closing costs, toward your design center. And you know what? Some of the pre-owned homes, they're not very far from the mark. Now, they're not going to be able to offer you $40,000 worth of incentives, because remember, they need that money just like you do to apply to their next homes. But we are realizing that some of the pre-owned homes are loosening up some of their rigidity when it comes to not being very generous from the concession side, because they haven't had to be in so many years. But now the environment, the tone of selling homes today, it has changed. So we want to keep you up to date with what really is going on, not what you think is going on. So there is a lot of opportunity out there as a buyer. So you're almost in a sweet spot. You've accumulated all of this wealth from your current home, and you're able to take advantage of what the market is doing right now to get a great deal, even on the buy side. Now that's a win-win if I've ever heard of one. Speaking of appreciation, equity, and that big barrel of cash that you're sitting on, let's take a look at what some top economists and companies have now changed their tune about housing and home prices this year. So just looking at this chart alone, I'm going to hit the big boys. Now, all of these on this chart are well respected. I mean, they're renowned. They know what they're talking about. But I want to hit up on Zillow, because many people feel like on the 8th day, God created Zillow. So let's just look at the Zillow line here. So Zillow last year, at the end of last year, they predicted that this year we will only see a 0.2% appreciation. Well, take a look at the reality. They've changed their tune. Now they are realizing that they were a little bit off on their math, quite a bit off, And they are thinking that the appreciation rate for this year is looking at like 3.5%. And you can also see the same with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and also my dear National Association of Realtors. They even gave a 0.7 prediction of appreciation. They've changed their tune to 1.9. So they're not as high as the others, but when you look at the overall chart, we're looking at a significant change in what these experts predicted our market will bear. So that means when you're ready to list your home, you're going to be able to experience some of that appreciation if they kind of predicted wrong the end of last year. That means good news for you. Now let's talk about how we're going to prepare your home, because even though there may be a shortage in inventory, buyers typically like to buy nice homes, which means they don't want to inherit your weekend warrior, failed, neglected, oops, I forgot about projects. Or they don't want to have to come in and have to repaint the entire house. Because remember, you want top dollar, and you may not be considering the dollars that the buyers are going to have to bring to the table, plus dump into your home because you've neglected maintenance, you've neglected painting, you've neglected a number of things. So let's talk about some things to get you on track so that you can get the most for your money. The first thing I would recommend is declutter. I know that in your home, you live there. So there's a commercial, I think it was Febreze, the air freshener, and it's a commercial that says that you can become nose blind. You don't smell what's going on in the home because you live that way. Well, it's similarly to the things that you have acquired over the years. To you, they look great. I mean, you paid for them, so you have to justify them looking great. But to everyone else, it's junk. I mean, just separate yourself from the passion that you have for your home. It's a commodity now. We just need to get it sold for as much money as we can. So try to step back from the emotion and go in that home and just purge. And then, of course, anything that needs to be painted, and probably the entire home, go ahead and get it painted. Hire a contractor. You've got enough money. We know that you've gained a lot of money. Just hire this out, the contractor. And if you've moved first because you bought first, this makes it even easier to get this done because your home is vacant. So just allow them to go in and do what they do so that you're not allowing so much time pass between when you purchase your new home and you still have your other home. Because if you still have a mortgage on that home, now you've got two mortgages that you're balancing. Now, nobody likes to do that for a very long time. So we want to be expeditious and go quick to get these things done. So first, just declutter, because painters can't paint around your things. So declutter. If you have it vacant, even better. The next thing we want to do is a deep clean, because sometimes homes look a little bit worse when they're empty, because now we can see the outline of, oh, we have some pictures here, and oh yeah, wow, that's a lot of dust over there. So deep clean. And in some cases, we need to get a good old-fashioned toothbrush and get between the grouts, because the kitchens and the baths, that's the one place that could be so gross to people. And we want to avoid any objection from your buyer. But remember, it's vacant. You've already decided, you've got a game plan to get this home turnkey ready. And you know what? Even though it's vacant, I would still recommend get a few items back in there, some light staging, or you can stage the home virtually. But whether or not to have it clean is a non-discussion. And then when your home vacant because you've decided to move first, still keep your yard person in place, or go over and cut the yard, keep it manicured, keep the weeds out, keep the grass green, your flowers fresh. And yes, it may be a little bit extra effort on your part, but remember, you're going to make out pretty handsomely once you sell your property because of all the appreciation over the years. And our yards is so critically important because, I mean, it's the first thing you see. It's the curb appeal. So not only the front, we're going to take it all the way to the backyard too. And in Texas, don't forget to keep the sprinkler system going, keep the water flowing. I know there's some days of restrictions, but we want to keep that grass healthy, because the last thing someone wants to think is they have to resod your front yard. So hopefully in this video, you have better insight of the option of being able to buy before you sell. And I hope that these lenders have kind of opened up some new thinking for you, because you may not even realize some of these options were available to you. Or maybe you remembered them kinda, but you weren't quite sure of the rules. And let's face it, things change over time. And maybe the rules have changed since the last time you even looked into it. So hopefully you're able to get some great intel and insight on what is the best platform, program, idea, or option for you if you decide to buy now and sell later. And also, just to give you a few tips of how to maintain your sanity during the transition and how to maintain the value of your home even if you are not living in it. We definitely want to work on that. Hi, I'm Tracy Sorrell with the DFW Life, and I help people just like you navigate through all the options, decisions, and choices when it comes to moving to your next place or selling your home. Do me a favor, comment below, reach out. Give me a call, email me. Let's get together and let's discover what's the best plan for you to move to your next place and to sell your home.